Hello, guys. So, welcome to this first chapter of corporate issuers. Was called as corporate finance पहले. Now it is corporate issuers. कोई फर्क पड़ता है नहीं. Moreover, the content is the same. I would say it's a good news for you all from an exam perspective that it has been shortened a bit, in my opinion. I don't really remember, but still, I think that it has been shortened. Pehle the content was more and now the content is less. In any case, it doesn't really matter. What matters is that we understand the subject, we enjoy the subject, and we are able to do well in the exam. Talking about corporate finance, guys, or by the way, sorry, as a student, this subject to me was corporate finance. तो ऐसा हो सकता है that I might just use corporate issuers and corporate finance interchangeably. So just excuse me for that. But in any case, this is a subject which should be a, you know, which should be a cash cow for you all. Okay? Here you cannot go wrong. It's a very easy, it's a very interesting, it's a very simple to understand subject. Okay? So understand that from an exam perspective, you also need to be smart enough that you know that there are some subjects which are a bit tricky, and it is there, it is reality. So there are a few subjects which are very easy. So in those easy subjects, your aim should be ki bhai, I capitalize the most with these particular subjects, so that if I mess up with some other subjects, I will moreover cover my marks here. That does not mean that you take the other subjects lightly. What I'm trying to say is that you should try your best to get the highest outcome, okay, in these particular subjects. Okay. So one of those is corporate issuers. Very easy to understand, and very much something which you have been doing. Okay. If you are a commerce student, you have seen all this a lot in your junior college days or your degree college. So this won't be very new to you all. Okay. In any case, let's start with the first chapter. The first chapter is reading 22, called as organizational forms, corporate issuer features, and ownership. Okay. Basically, it talks about different forms of an organization. Okay. A company which you intend to start can take a form of different can take different forms. Okay. One can be a sole proprietorship, which you can see in the screen. Sole proprietorship ho sakta hai. It can be a general partnership, it can be a limited partnership, it can be a corporation. Now, what are these? Okay, is what we will understand. Okay, and then let's say, so basically it just teaches you these different forms, but then, okay, this particular subject is all about this. Okay, this particular subject is all about corporation, guys. So from here onwards, it transforms into the a corporate ka subject. Okay, and then what are the issues within a corporate structure? What are the features? What are the ownership structures is what is discussed. So after we discuss these three for the initial, thoda phase, okay, we should stop thinking about these three things, and this whole subject is centered around this form of ownership. Okay. So organizational forms for sole proprietorship. Okay. One person basically owning the entire business. General partnership. Okay. Basically, uh, two or three partners, okay, coming together, but basically having a sizable stake, and all are managing, okay, all are active partners in the business. Limited partnership, a lot of people, there is a one key person, okay, there is a main person who is the, managing the whole business, called as GP, and then there are small investors called as LPs. Okay, this is a kind of a structure which is generally there in alternative investment funds. Okay, private equity fund, venture capital funds, private credit funds are all based on this form of partnership, where there is the main person GP, and then there are small investors LP who rely on the GP's talent. Here everyone is a GP. Basically all are general partners, all are active participants in the business. Okay, and talking about corporation, this is a whole different body. Okay, this is a whole different body which is formed. Okay, a body which is formed jiska part you start owning or giving ownership to. क्या किस तरीके से है? Let's have a look. So first of all, first feature, Separate legal entity, sole proprietorship, no, it is not a separate legal entity. It is something which is attached to you. Okay, so basically you take the full responsibility of it. General partnership, again no. Limited partnership, again no, because in these particular kind of structures the business is attached with you. Okay, you and business are one and the same. Might be the case that thoda percent of the business you might be holding and thoda other is holding, but you guys are business. Okay, in a corporation, the company, okay, in the corporation the business is a different body. Okay, it is just like a new human being. Okay, it is a different body created jisme you will have ownership stakes. Okay, so it is a different form. So basically any publicly listed company which you see, let's say Reliance, Infosys, whatever, ठीक है, are all corporation form. ठीक है. Second, managed by the owner, correct. यहाँ पे तो sole proprietorship है, तो एक बंदा एक धंधा, ठीक है, owner. Second is general partnership, as I said, a lot of partners. Limited partnership में managed by the GP. I told you ना that limited partnership में what happens is the fund का structure that the GP manages the business and then the LPs come to take over. ठीक है. LPs are basically just there for a small ownership holding, but GPs are the main showrunners. Okay. Then this is managed by the board and the managers. Okay, a corporation, a company like Reliance. Always imagine Reliance when I talk about corporation. ठीक है, the company is managed by board. Okay, जिसके अंडर मैनेजमेंट आता है. ठीक है, तो managers are running the company day in and out and they report to the board and the board is there. So board की अलग अलग कमिटी होती है. One is the audit committee, one is remuneration committee, other is dash committee, other is dash committee. अलग अलग करके committees होती है. Okay, so the managers all together collectively have to work, report to their respective board members. Okay, and then the board members are responsible to answer the shareholders. ठीक है, तो it is like managers के ऊपर आता है board of directors के ऊपर आते हैं shareholders, right? So this is how the chain of command works or chain of reporting works. Okay, then comes owner liability. Okay, here the liability is unlimited in sole proprietorship. इसका मतलब ये है that if the business makes a loss of let's say 100 crore rupees, ठीक है, then you are liable to pay 100 crore rupees. It doesn't, you cannot say that hey ये जो बिजनेस है उसमें लॉस हुआ है, दिस डज नॉट commingle with my personal net worth. It does. Okay, in a sole proprietorship setting it does. Same with general partnership. If there are losses, then between partners the losses are split and they need to pay for it. Okay, in terms of limited partnership, the LPs have a small limited इन्वेस्टमेंट. सो लेट से अगर एलपी 4 LP है, उन्होंने इन्वेस्ट किया 1-1 करोड़ और अगर लॉस होता है तो उनका लॉस 1 करोड़ तक ही होगा, उससे ज्यादा नहीं होगा. बाय द वे, जस्ट गिविंग यू अ कॉन्टेक्स्ट, दिस यू माइट हैव सीन, बट व्हेन आई से अनलिमिटेड लायबिलिटी का मतलब ये है, लेट्स से यू एज अ ओनर. ओके, लेट्स टेक एन एग्जांपल ऑफ सोल प्रोप्राइटरशिप. लेट्स से you as a owner you have invested 5 crore rupees into the business. Okay, but let's say in the business there is a loss of 15 crore rupees. So apart from the 5 crore ka loss, you have to pay the upar ka 10 crore ka loss also. That liability is yours. That is why it says there is unlimited liability. Even if you make 100 crore loss, the owner has to bear that. Okay, same is in a general partnership. The owners collectively have to bear that. In a limited partnership, the limited partners will just bear the loss till the amount of their investment. मतलब जितना इन्वेस्ट किया उतना ही लूज कर पाओगे, जीरो होगा, पर उससे ज्यादा आपको माइनस में नहीं लेके जाएगा वो. समझ रहे हो? बट व्हेन इट कम्स टू जनरल पार्टनर्स, ओके, लिमिटेड पार्टनरशिप, एज आई सेड, देयर इज अ स्ट्रक्चर. जनरल पार्टनर्स मैनेज, लिमिटेड पार्टनर्स इन्वेस्ट. These guys will only lose the money which they have invested, but these guys are liable for the money which they have invested as well as any above accretive loss. Okay, so that is the case. Then comes corporation. In terms of corporation, the liability is limited. Why? ये फायदा है. This is the reason that once a company becomes very big, people transform into a corporate structure. Corporate structure का फायदा क्या है? Corporate structure का फायदा ये है that you and the company are two different entities. तो क्या हो जाता है? Generally, this is the case that in a company, when a company becomes too big, okay, आप अगर कंपनी की लायबिलिटी अपनी छाती पे लेने आए, ओके, इफ यू स्टार्ट टेकिंग दोस लायबिलिटी टू योर ओन सेल्फ, then the sky is the limit. That is the problem, and that is why a corporate structure is important. That is why you start diluting money, because the stakes are getting so large that one cannot bear that. And as I said, because corporation and the person owning it are two different entities. Corporation, let's say I am Monil Mehta. I have a business. Let's say I have 50% ownership in that business. I have invested 100 crores. Okay. Example. Now the business is making a loss of 500 crores. What do I lose? I lose maximum what I can lose is 100 crores. जो ऊपर का 400 करोड़ है, that business has to figure out. Either it has to raise more funds and pay off the loss, it has to take debt and pay off the loss, or at the end of the day, if it's getting no bhav, then it has to go and file for bankruptcy and basically bad debts, हाथ ऊपर करके bad debts. Okay, so yeah, there is a thing that in a corporation, the owners do get this leverage that uh, they kind of take it lightly, take this particular structure lightly, and play bold games. But that is not the reality. The reality is that in either ways, one will lose either goodwill or money, and which is none, and neither is good for the future, right? So that is the case. Then comes access to capital. Here there is a limited access to capital. In a sole proprietorship, you cannot raise money from any other investors by diluting your ownership. Not possible. Okay. In a general partnership, again, the access to capital is limited. Okay, you cannot keep on raising more and more capital. There is a limit to how much, how many partners there can be in the business. Same with the limited partnership. But in terms of corporation, there can be virtually unlimited. Okay, कितने भी हो सकते हैं. And that is, so basically, if let's say if I'm owning 100%, धीरे धीरे करके, if I start selling my stake, okay, for more and more money, the money will come to me. Okay, or the money will come to business. Let's say the business needs it, the business starts raising money, or the business, I'll also give you an example. The business can also issue fresh capital. ठीक है, तो all together क्या होता है यहाँ पे sole proprietorship में, what is the most I can do? मेरा खुद का पैसा है. In terms of general partnership, limited partnership, what can I do? Let's say I hold 100% in the company. मैं थोड़ा करके पूरा स्टेक बेच दूं तो भी जाके एक लिमिट आ जाएगी, वहां पे टेपर हो जाएगा मेरा कैपिटल. But when it comes to corporation, apart from, I basically, in a corporation, I have the liberty to basically raise extra money over and above the ownership. I can create new ownership in the company. ठीक है, understand the point. Okay, यहाँ पे if I have 100%, I can keep on diluting and raising more money until and unless I become zero. ठीक है, यहाँ पे तो हो नहीं सकता, एक बंदा है, but यहाँ पे कर सकता हूँ. But when it comes to corporation, what happens is that, let's say, if I'm diluting and raising more money, but at the same time, what I can do is I can issue fresh shares also. Okay, because it's a corporation, so corporation can issue fresh shares, dilute other stakes, but keep on raising money, virtually unlimited. That is the beauty of corporation. So basically, when you understand that your business has taken off, okay, and it has reached a level of mass, you have to convert it into corporation so that you can virtually keep on raising more and more, an unlimited amount of capital which will be required. ठीक है, taxation on profits pass through to owner as personal income. ठीक है, in sole proprietorship it is like, अगर धंधे में 100 रुपए बना है तो वो 100 रुपए मेरे खाते में आएगा, वो 100 रुपए का टैक्स मैं भरेगा. इट इज पास थ्रू. ओके, जनरल पार्टनरशिप अगेन पास थ्रू, limited partnership again pass through. Corporation, it has the potential for double taxation. क्या हो जाता है in a corporation? There is revenue, then there is COGS. Okay, revenue minus cost of goods sold comes to gross profit. Gross profit में दूसरे सब operating expenses निकाल दूंगा तो I get EBITDA, then depreciation, amortization, then I get operating income, then I remove interest, then I remove tax, and that is how I get my PAT. What happens is that I paid tax, basically earnings before tax or profit before tax के बाद मैं एक बार tax भरा. After that, let's say I get PAT. In that PAT, if I distribute this PAT as dividends, okay, if I distribute this PAT as dividends, तो वो dividends पे भी investor को tax लगेगा. So basically, the investor is owning the company. First of all, the investors are owning Reliance. Reliance का corporate level पे सबसे पहले तो tax लगेगा after PBT. Okay, and then once you get a dividend from Reliance, तो आपके पर्सनल लेवल पे भी आपको डिविडेंड पे भी टैक्सेशन भरना पड़ेगा X परसेंटेज, करेक्ट? सो इट हैज द पोटेंशियल फॉर डबल टैक्सेशन, which again is a pain point. But the point is that in a corporation, it is very important that one separates the business and himself or herself. Okay, in the long term it is very important. Investors are more comfortable in this particular structure. Okay, so yes, it does involve a lot of paperwork, a lot of nitty gritties, but at the same time for long term that is something which is a requirement. So whatever I spoke is something which is mentioned here. Let's read it very quickly. So sole proprietorship tends to be small in scale to the extent of the owner's liability to secure financing. Okay. GP is formed to be able to, basically general partnership is formed to be able to do business at a scale that exceeds that of a sole proprietorship. So basically if there is a sole proprietorship का scale जिससे थोड़ा ज्यादा आपको करना है तो GP structure will help. LPs operate in two layers, जैसे मैंने बताया, a GP and a LP, correct? So the one who manages the business and then the LPs. LLP is a structure where GP is not required, only allowed in certain jurisdictions with limited capital raising ability. Basically, LLP is also a structure that is used to incorporate a company. In this particular case, the GPs are literally not required. So basically, let's say there is a structure called as LLP. Okay, LP to hai, but there is another structure called as LLP, and in this LLP, there will only be limited partners. Okay, and they will appoint management. There will be no general partner. So वो वाला पेन पॉइंट यहाँ पे आपको आएगा ही नहीं, करेक्ट? Then comes corporation. Corporation gives the highest access to capital as all owners have limited liability. Okay, as I am saying, here when you take a loan, okay, let's say you took a loan from the bank in sole proprietorship, let's say Monil Mehta has a company called as XYZ. Okay, when XYZ is raising 1 crore from the bank, that 1 crore is the liability of Monil. Okay. In a GP, that 1 crore is the liability of Monil. In a LP, the 1 crore is the liability of Monil. But in a corporation, that 1 crore is the liability of the company. If let's say the company is not performing well, making loss and not able to repay, no one is going to come to me and tell me that, hey, Monil, what is this? Okay, because it is not my liability, it is the company's liability in which I have an ownership stake. So if the bank is making loss, even I am going to make a loss. जब बैंक को ही पे बैक नहीं कर पा रहे हो तब मुझे तो मिलेगा ही नहीं, मैं तो इक्विटी हूं, आई गेट द लास्ट प्रेफरेंस, राइट? सो दैट्स हाउ कॉर्पोरेशंस आर. ओके, की फीचर्स ऑफ कॉर्पोरेट इश्यूअर्स. नंबर वन, entity separate from its owners. Okay, now as I said, now we move to corporation. ठीक है, ये सब अब हट गया. Okay, entity separate from its owners which have rights responsibilities similar to individuals. ठीक है, the entity has the rights and responsibilities similar to the individuals. Formed by filling articles of incorporation with a regulatory body. Basically, a company will have to be incorporated under the Companies Act, let's say in India, okay, where it will have to file for the articles of incorporation. Within the articles of incorporation, it mentions that, what kind of the company is this, what are the key people within the company, what is the nature of business it will do, what is the jurisdiction under which it operates, where will it do the business, what kind of the business it is doing, right? Under which regulations do they fall, are they adhering to all those things, is the KYC properly done, are they adhering to all the legal norms and standards? All these things are mentioned there. Then comes share. Articles of incorporation also mentions that in this particular company, who all have how much of stake. ठीक है, तो shareholders भी आते हैं. Then comes shareholders have voting rights that give them the right to choose the board of directors. As I said, in a corporation, there is management जिसके ऊपर board आता है, जिसके ऊपर shareholders आते हैं. So shareholders will choose the board of directors. Board of directors will choose the managers who will act on behalf of board of directors for the welfare of shareholders. So shareholder board of director को बोलेगा कि सुन, तुम करो काम, तुम मैनेजर्स अपॉइंट करो जिससे धंधा सबसे अच्छा चलेगा. तो बोर्ड ऑफ डायरेक्टर्स मैनेजर्स को अपॉइंट करेगा, मैनेजर्स काम करेंगे to maximize shareholder value. They will report to the board will then report to the shareholders, and so on and so on. Okay, so any decision with the board of director, okay, has to take needs a voting from shareholders. Okay, a majority voting from shareholders. So board can take normal basic decisions, but for any material decisions, they need to reach out to shareholders and get a majority vote. Only then will they be able to, take it ahead. Then comes corporation issues shares to owners which give them the right to raise capital. Okay, basically corporation will issue shares जिसके सामने owners will give capital to the company, a very basic one. Then board of director takes the decision of distributing earnings as dividends. Okay, it is the decision of board of directors to distribute the earnings as dividends. Okay, or retain that earnings. Now why? Because see, board of directors guys are the domain experts in the business. Okay, they know the business well. They know if the business needs money, will need money or not. Okay, on the basis of that, they should take the decision. They will hear the managers. Generally, the managers will say that, hey, listen, we do have enough liquidity in the business. We do have enough for capital expenditure in the business. Pay out the money to shareholders. Let's make them happy. But let's say overall, if they are not satisfied with the performance or not satisfied with the amount of liquidity the business carries, they might just not distribute the dividends and hold the money. Okay, in which case it is absolutely fine, क्योंकि पैसा कहीं पे जा नहीं रहा है, पैसा इन्वेस्ट धंधे में ही हो रहा है, धंधा उससे ग्रो ही होगा और उससे हमारे शेयर्स की वैल्यू ही बढ़ेगी. करेक्ट. Dividends face the issue of double taxation in some jurisdictions, and hence companies reinvesting major amount of earnings improve returns for owners. Okay, in some jurisdictions dividends are taxed. Okay, so basically क्या हो जाता है, सबसे पहले corporate, मैंने आपको पता है ऊपर भी बताया, I just mentioned you that at corporate level the company is getting taxed, then at dividend at personal level you also get taxed for dividends. So it's a double taxation. So in many jurisdictions where such is the situation, investors generally prefer a case where the companies do not pay out money as dividends. Rather, they invest in the company so that the overall valuation of the company grows, the overall price of the company shares grow, and they get a better exit. Right? So, usse kya ho jayega? The exit or the returns which they make are more tax efficient. Okay. So, in general, how does a double taxation on dividends work? Is this. Like for example, let's say if there is double taxation, okay, let's consider that एक country है जिसमें double taxation है, वहां पे अगर 100% डिविडेंड पे आउट करता हूं तो 40% इफेक्टिव टैक्स रेट लगता है, बट 40% डिविडेंड पे आउट करता हूं तो सिर्फ 31% लगता है. दिस सेज दैट इन अ कंट्री वेयर डबल टैक्सेशन इज द प्रॉब्लम, ओके, कम पे आउट करने से इफेक्टिवली टैक्स कम होता है, ज्यादा पे आउट करोगे तो इफेक्टिवली टैक्स बढ़ेगा. नाउ लेट्स लुक एट दिस एग्जांपल. ABC Corporation has pre-tax earnings, basically PBT of 10 million, which we wrote, ठीक है, and a corporate tax of 25%. तो 1 करोड़ का फॉर एग्जांपल पीबीटी है तो उसके पे 25 लाख का टैक्स लगेगा, कॉर्पोरेट इनकम टैक्स. वी आर देयर विद अ पैट ऑफ 75 lakhs. ठीक है, यहां तक सिचुएशन सेम है. The first scenario says that there is a 100% payout of dividends. The second says there is a 40% payout of dividends. In a 100% payout of dividends, 75 ka 75 you will distribute among shareholders. So on that 75 lakh, the shareholder will get taxed. Correct? उसको भी टैक्स लगेगा और वो लेट से 20% है. ठीक है, शेयर होल्डर्स आर टैक्स्ड एट 20% ऑन डिविडेंड इनकम. सो बेसिकली 75 लाख पे 20% लगा तो 15 लाख का और टैक्स हो गया. सो व्हाट इज द टोटल टैक्स? टोटल टैक्स इज दिस 15 लाख प्लस 25 लाख. टोटल तो इतना भरा ना, कॉर्पोरेशन भी अगर टैक्स भर रहा है तो वो इन्वेस्टर को हर्ट कर रहा है, राइट? सो टोटल टैक्स इज 40 lakhs. What is the effective tax rate? Effective tax rate is 40 lakhs divided by the PBT. Basically PBT के बाद आया, right? So effectively you have paid a 40% tax, okay, in a double taxation scenario. Let's say if you realize that it is a double taxation scenario, let's not distribute all of our earnings in terms of dividends जिससे टैक्स बचेगा. तो उसमें क्या हो जाएगा? Let's say out of 75 lakh का profit you just distribute 30 lakh जिसपे 6 lakh का ही टैक्स लगेगा. तो total tax will be 6 lakh plus 25 lakh at corporate level, total 31 lakhs, and in that case the effective tax is 31%. Correct? 31 lakh divided by 1 crore. In this case it is, that is the reason it is said that in places with double taxation one really has to try and manage taxes. Okay, so yeah, that's what I have highlighted. Then comes public versus privately owned corporate issuers. Okay, publicly एक होता है public companies like Reliance Infosys, ठीक है, and then there are other private companies like let's say Byju's, ठीक है, Byju's है, Farmeasy है, something like that. Okay, so Public companies, most of them are listed companies. Shares are actively traded on exchanges, which are rule-based open markets with transparency in price and volume data. Correct? कि भाई prices भी continuously move होते हैं. These are listed stocks. ठीक है? Volume data is also presented. So these are basically like Reliance, Infosys, TCS, Dabur, HUL, whatnot. Correct? Shareholders can be individuals, corporations, trust, government. Okay? Let's say Reliance. Reliance में shareholders can be myself. Okay, can be our government who can buy a stake, can be another company who is holding 2, 3, 4, 5% stake, and can also have other trusts. Correct? Let's say NGOs or any other trust formed for any other purpose. वो भी हो सकते हैं. Free float is the portion of shares that are actively traded, not held by insiders, strategic investors, sponsors like PE firms. Basically, when a large institution, ध्यान से सुनना, when a large institution invests in a publicly traded company, let's say Reliance, okay, they are not going to sell their shares or trade their shares every day. ठीक है? And insider is not allowed to trade their shares every day. यहाँ पे एक ट्रेडिंग विंडो होती है जिसमें काम करना पड़ता है. So insider is not allowed to basically trade their shares on the exchanges. Second is strategic investors. These are those investors who have made a soft commitment or sometimes even a hard commitment that they will stay on the company's cap table for 5, 10 years, for example. So the shares are under a lock-in. Or sponsors. There are some PE firms, large PE firms like Chris Capital, Blackstone, something like that, who have made a commitment to the company that, hey, listen, I'm infusing some 150 crores into the company and I'm going to keep this invested for the next 5, 7 years. So these people are not the general traders and sellers or buyers in this particular item. And that is why free float का मतलब ये है, free float is that shares, is those shares which can be traded every day. ठीक है? Basically something which I am holding or y'all are holding or some other investor who is holding or some mutual fund which is holding, that particular number of shares are called as free float, which can float in the market every day. ठीक है? Which are not under any lock-in. Okay? Because actually that's what matters, correct? Free float is what matters. What is flowing in the market, that will determine कि भाई कितना buying pressure है, selling pressure है, कितना ऊपर जाएगा, नीचे जाएगा, stock का price, कितना volume है. Free float will decide everything, right? Subject to compliance and reporting. Okay, public companies are subject to compliances, a hell lot of them reporting. Okay, so quarterly reports, annual reports, basically quarterly result, annual result, any material change, for example, any merger, amalgamation, or something like that, whatever is happening in the company, first needs to be out under SEBI. Okay, so with the there are regulatory filings, basically SEBI filings in India or SEC filings in the US, which the companies, the publicly listed companies, have to adhere to. Okay, in the US it can be 10K, 10Q, 8K, 6K, different kind of filings which one has to do on the basis of quarterly results, annual results, M&A, something like that. Okay? Change in management, whatever it is. Now comes private companies like, let's say, Byju's, PharmEasy, Boat, etc., etc. Okay? These are less regulated and have less reporting requirements. Obviously, everyone knows why. Because they are private companies, small investors. Okay? आम आदमी इसमें कोई stake hold नहीं कर रहे. They are not allowed to do that. Only HNIs, ultra HNIs, family offices, and large institutions and governments are the investors here. Correct? Do not actively trade shares generally held by large investors who are long term and wait for the IPO or other routes to sell shares. Okay? So basically they are holding and they will just wait for an exit or an IPO or some round where they can offload their shares and get their returns. Can raise equity via private placements to only accredited investors. So let's say a private company, let's say Boat. Boat is in a requirement of a funding of 100 crore rupees. And let's say if it does not necessarily want to go for an IPO, it might just appoint an investment banker and say that, hey, listen, मुझे चाहिए 100 crore. ठीक है? Please, start working on my company. ठीक है? And start looking out for investors who can directly come. Look out for private large investors who can give me 100 crores in exchange of the ownership of so percent at such valuation. Correct? Now that most of you all see Shark Tank, you will be able to realize and understand what I'm talking. So it will become very easy for you all to understand. And ways for private companies to go public. See, there एक दिन आएगा when the private company will become public. Why? Because एक लिमिट से ऊपर ग्रो करना है तो you have to give the ownership to the retail investors, the small investors, the आम आदमी. ओके और आम आदमी से अगर पैसा लेना है और उनको अपना ओनरशिप बांटना है तो the small investors, the retail investors, the आम आदमी, their earnings is very crucial. ठीक है, it is a hard earned money, बहुत मेहनत से आता है. One cannot cheat them, and that is why SEBI or any regulatory arm is so and so tight, so and so stringent when it comes to a company going public. Okay, that is why it is the case that the rules are such that it protects the retail investors. So first is IPO. By meeting exchange specific requirements, underwriting is done by investment bankers and shares are sold in open markets. There is a portion of QIP as well as fresh issue. Basically, a company who wants to do an IPO, let's say boat, ठीक है, boat company को let's say IPO करना है, what the company can do is it can appoint investment bankers, it can give all the details about the company, its plans, its next 5-year, 10-year plans to the investment bankers and basically ask them to value the company. Based on the valuation they get, वो वैल्यूएशन के हिसाब से दे आस्क द कंपनी टू फाइंड आउट फॉर बेसिकली टू अंडरराइट द ऑफर. अंडरराइट का मतलब ये है द कंपनी सेज दैट हे लिसन वी वांट 800 crores. ठीक है, ध्यान से सुनना, वी वांट 800 crores आउट ऑफ विच 400 crores वी वांट टू बेसिकली लेट्स से अमन गुप्ता सेज दैट मैं मेरा स्टेक देता हूं. ओके, लेट्स से आउट ऑफ द 40% फॉर एग्जांपल इफ आई होल्ड, आई विल सेल दिस 10% फॉर द अमाउंट ऑफ let's say 400 crores. ठीक है, I will sell this 10% for the amount of 400 crores, which is called as what? It is called as QIP. It is qualified institutional placement. Okay. Basically, there is no fresh capital. Okay. There is no additional capital which the company is raising. So out of that 800, 400 is through QIP. But company says, यार मेरे को 400 से नहीं होगा, मुझे 800 crore चाहिए. So that 400 can be a fresh issue where the company says that, hey, listen, we are raising 400 crores more. And in addition to that we are creating more shares in the company. Okay, so basically जितने shares थे उतने में ही नहीं खेलूंगा मैं, और shares बढ़ा दूंगा और उसके ऊपर मैं और funding भी लूंगा. Okay, so there are two components in a IPO. One is a QIP where the existing investor is selling its stake for some money, and the other portion is the fresh issue where the company is adding new shares in the company, creating new shares in the company and taking money. Okay, so these two things can happen. Obviously with the second route a dilution will happen for existing investors, but it's fine. Correct, I mean if the company has a greater prospect of growing more in the next 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, then why not? Correct. Second is the direct listing. Without involving an underwriter, no fresh issue of shares or capital, just QIP or direct listing. Okay, इसमें ये है that the company does not want to raise much money. Okay, either it wants to raise some money where it will say the I banker that भाई मुझे इतना पैसा लाके दे दो, मेरे लिए arrange कर दो पैसा, या फिर it says that hey listen, I just don't want anything, I don't want any capital, 0 rupees चाहिए मुझे, कुछ नहीं चाहिए, I just want my, listen ध्यान से सुनना, I just want my company to float in the market, to actively trade in the market, for the market to discover the value of my company. Let's say once my company is listed and if the inside investors feel that they want to sell their stake, let them sell. If other wants to buy, other investors, the small investors, they want to buy, they will buy. Okay, so it is another form where the issue of additional shares or issue of additional capital is not happening. IPO में issue of additional capital generally happens. ठीक है. Now within IPO there are two things, by the way. Okay, one is an underwritten offer, other is the best efforts offer. Okay, now in an underwritten offer what happens is that, let's say a company goes to the investment banker and says that, hey listen, the value of my company is 400 crores. Okay, I want to raise 500 crores more. ठीक है, मुझे 500 करोड़ और रेस करने हैं. ठीक है, दिस इज द स्टेक. ठीक है, तो एक काम कर दो, इन्वेस्टमेंट बैंकर को बोलता है एक काम कर दो, 500 करोड़ आप मुझे पहले से दे दो. ठीक है, 500 crores you give me पहले से at this valuation of let's say 1000 crores. ठीक है, आप 1000 crores के वैल्यूएशन पे मुझे को 500 करोड़ दे दो. ठीक है, अब now you are holding, basically you give me 500 crores, you take the ownership. Now the investment banker has the ownership. Now it will sell the units to the public. When does this happen? This happens when the investment banker is very much confident on the company. When the investment banker knows that ये company में दम है, is when it prefers to go for an underwritten offer, where what it does is that it says that, hey, listen, you need, let's say you need 100 crores ना, चलो दिया आपको, ये लो 100 करोड़, उसके सामने मुझे ओनरशिप दे दो, ठीक है। अब ये 100 करोड़ की ओनरशिप मैं बाहर 150 करोड़ में बेचूं तो आपको प्रॉब्लम नहीं होना चाहिए, 50 करोड़ का प्रॉफिट मेरा। अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट आई विल ऑल्सो चार्ज यू फीस, ओके। बट इससे व्हाट इज द बेनिफिट ऑफ दिस पर्टिकुलर टाइप ऑफ एन ऑफर? द बेनिफिट इज द बेनिफिट इज द गारंटी ऑफ एग्जीक्यूशन, ठीक है। गारंटी ऑफ एग्जीक्यूशन हो जाएगा। The company is in need of 100 crores, investment banker is ready and ready to give that 100 crores in, within days, okay. In a IPO, the IPO can be undersubscribed. The IPO might not just happen. If it happens, it might be undersubscribed, people might not like it, right? So in iBanker बोलता है आप आपका 100 करोड़ ले लो, अब मैं ज्यादा वैल्यूएशन पे इसको 150 करोड़ में बेचूं कि कम वैल्यूएशन में इसको 70 करोड़ पे बेच के लॉस करूं, ये मेरा लुकआउट है। आई जस्ट वांट टू थिंग्स फ्रॉम यू, the ownership against this 100 crores and some fees, okay. In a best efforts, okay, in a best efforts offering, there is no underwriting done by the investment banker. The investment banker is just a bridge which basically says that आपको 100 करोड़ चाहिए, ठीक है, ये लो 100 करोड़ के इन्वेस्टर्स, 100 करोड़ ये लो, ये लो, ठीक है। 100 करोड़ इन्वेस्टर से लाया, दे दिया, कंपनी को खत्म। इट इज जस्ट अ मिडल मैन ट्राइंग टू अर्न सम फीस, दैट्स इट, इन अ बेस्ट एफर्ट्स ऑफरिंग। सो इट डिपेंड्स कि बाद में आगे प्रॉपरली रेज होता है नहीं होता है, देन द रिस्क इज नॉट बोर्न बाय द इन्वेस्टमेंट बैंकर, इट इज बोर्न बाय द कंपनी। बट यस, ऑब्वियसली द फीस इज ऑल्सो लेस देन, ठीक है। स्पैक, ओके, SPAC is nothing but special purpose acquisition company, okay। special purpose acquisition company का मतलब क्या है? It is more over like a IPO, okay. It is a different way, okay. It is a different route of raising more money. In a SPAC, it is nothing but a blank check company, okay. One creates a company, okay, पहले company बना देते हैं, वो कंपनी पहले फंड रेस कर लेता है इन्वेस्टर्स से, ओके। बेसिकली व्हाट दे डू इज दे फॉर्म अ कंपनी, they show the theme what they are trying to, let's say a company is formed and they just try to show it to their investors that, hey, listen, we are planning to do something in healthcare, ठीक है। This is, the kind of companies which we will plan to buy and acquire, ठीक है। so do you want to invest in this vehicle? So they form a trust, ट्रस्ट में अलग अलग इन्वेस्टर्स पुट इन देयर मनी, जैसे आईपीओ में हम सब्सक्राइब करते हैं वैसे इन्वेस्टर्स विल पुट इन मनी इनटू द ट्रस्ट, एंड बट आफ्टर द मनी इज रिसीव्ड, लेट्स से द ट्रस्ट रिसीव्स 100 crores, with that 100 crores it will buy some hospital, it will buy some medical device company or something like that. So SPAC is exactly ulta than IPO. IPO में क्या है? There is a company, there is a structure, there is a visibility, there are results, there are future estimates, there are investment bankers, there are management, everything is there, okay, and then someone is investing in it. SPAC is a risky vehicle. SPAC में क्या होता है? There is just an idea on the basis of which a trust has been formed, and then people put in money, and that money is then, invested into a pool which no one knew about pehle se. So yeah, it is definitely, a risk wala scene, but of late they have been of, great, uh, they have been of a great demand in the US, okay? For a fact that speed of execution is very fast, so that is there. Then sometimes acquirers may also choose to buy a listed entity and delist it after acquisition for turnaround situations. Okay, so let's say there is a listed company. Let's say there is a listed company called as Yes Bank. Yes Bank is going through a tough phase. A large company like Blackstone institution says that, hey, listen, Yes Bank, I want to buy majority stake in you, okay? Or let's say I want to buy a complete stake in you. This is the XXX amount of crores which I pay to you. You give me the ownership, but I don't want the Yes Banka shares to float in the market. I want to take it private. I want to take it private. I don't want to keep it in front of people's eyes. Okay? I will set up a board. I will set up a management which will do its best to turn around the business in Yes Bank and make it profitable, grow it bigger to a scale where it can be a top notch bank, but privately. ये public figure में आके public eye में आना ही नहीं है. So that can also be a style where when then if Blackstone is able to grow Yes Bank to a level, it might just go and sell it to some another private equity or some institution. Even that can be an exit. So these are just the forms. Understand this particular chapter. It first tries to explain you different forms of ownership, then comes to corporation, and within corporation, what are the nitty-gritties is what it talks about. So yeah, I hope that you guys understood this particular chapter. I know it is very easy. ठीक है, you guys will also find it very easy. कहीं पे कुछ doubt आता है कुछ भी है, just let me know. But it is extremely easy, more than easy. It is extremely logical. ठीक है, so you guys should not face any problem. But if you are, just let me know. And see you guys in the next video.